Welcome to the Vegan Squad Health and Fitness Summit. I am John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan, and I am so glad you are here. We have so much information, knowledge, experience to share with you, and I'm so excited for all that you're about to get to learn. Make sure you guys stay until the end of the videos. There is a huge special going on. If you haven't already taken part in it, it will be in the description box down below. And I'm also going to include the link to the VIP tickets that you've already purchased in case you want to send it to a friend. If you need anything else, reach out to me or any of your Vegan Squad coaches. We're here to support you on your journey to becoming the best you can be with your health and fitness. We'll see you inside.
My name is Maya McBee. You can find me at Be Plant Powered on Instagram. I have a psychology degree from the Florida State University. I focused on cognitive and behavioral psychology in my studies. So I like to understand how our thoughts impact our behaviors and how they show up in our habits. I'm a natural vegan bodybuilder coached by John. Shout out to my coach. And I'm also a vegan mindset and fitness coach. And on top of all this, I've been neurodivergent ADHD since I was a child. I was diagnosed with ADHD in college. So I was kind of figuring it out along the way through middle school, high school, college. And then I realized that I needed some support and answers. So I got a diagnosis, and that was the journey of figuring out how to set up my systems to best fit me and my needs, because I realized that they were different from everyone else's, and that's like totally okay. So a little bit about my journey. I wanted to talk about how I went from the girl on the left to the girl on the right, because a lot of change had to happen, a lot of growth and a lot of mindset switches had to happen. This picture on the left is my first check-in photo ever. I started working with a coach in 2023. I had no intentions of working out, or like I lifted a little bit in the gym, but I was not efficient or productive or eating enough food at all to have any type of change. So I was just like frustrated, and I thought it was all me. I blamed myself for no progress. And I saw this coach post a Black Friday deal on her coaching, and I was sold. I was like, all right, it's time. I wasn't even trying to hire a coach, but I was like, this is a sign that I deserve more. And that was the day that I promised myself that I would show up for myself the way that I show up for my friends. I'm a crippling people pleaser. And that was kind of the motivation I needed to show up when I said that I would do that. So if I told myself I was going to go to the gym, I was there. I was on time, and I was showing up with full effort, because that's what I would do for my friends. So that mindset switch and hiring a coach changed my life like that. I think Melissa has said this so many times before, and it's so beautiful. She says, borrow someone else's belief in yourself. And that's exactly what I did. And that's kind of what got me on this journey of becoming better and figuring out what I can do, because I had these dreams, and I knew that the person I was having those dreams in that moment like wasn't ready to achieve them, and that there was a big step between the girl on the left and the girl on the right. So I started to believe in myself. I started to show up, and I gained confidence by doing those hard things. And that was what started making me feel like, okay, I can do this. Like I have the capability of setting myself up to put these structures in place so that I can become the person that is capable of achieving those dreams. So that was kind of the mindset switch that I went through there. And repeating those routines and repeating those challenges was evidence to me that I could do hard things, and that the more hard things I did, the more hard things I sought out. And it was kind of crazy. After a couple of years, this picture on the right is now after my this was after my second bodybuilding show, 2 coaches later with John. And I stepped off stage this day, and I thought about the girl on the left, and I was like, she would be freaking out right now. Like, she would be so proud of myself. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my journey and learning to love myself and realizing that loving yourself is putting structure in place so that you can step into the version of yourself that you dream of becoming one day. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of the psychology behind executive functioning, or the lack of, which is also known as executive dysfunction. Imagine our bodies and our nervous systems are run by like two teams. So when our nervous system feels safe and at ease, the prefrontal cortex is in charge. That's our executive function. So that's when we are able to see the game plan of a task or the lineup of things that need to be done for a project. We have better memory recall in this state. We have more energy to be more creative with our tasks, not just the bare minimum. So that's when we're in our flow state. We like our executive function when we're calm and just at ease and ready to achieve. But when our nervous system detects a threat, Melissa also talked about this last night in her meditation yesterday. Like, our bodies hold on to what's happening in our environment, and that shows up in how we think and our behaviors. So when our body senses a threat, the amygdala comes in and triggers pretty much like a fight or flight response. That's going to be our like survival mode. And that's the only job of the amygdala. Like, executive functioning is out the door and survival mode is in. And like when we were cavemen, this was helpful because we could like run from threats like tigers and things when we needed to. But here now, it's not a threat, and like the tiger is not the threat, but it might be an overwhelming email inbox or a presentation that you're scared to give. So that fight or flight response is still going to come in, but it does look a little different, obviously. So how these show up from a cognitive behavioral sense, you might see the flight response of task avoidance. So putting off a task because you don't feel ready enough, or doing a lot of planning on the front end because you don't feel like you have enough information instead of just starting. This also looks like task bouncing or multitasking. So you're frantically juggling tasks to try to minimize your workload, but there's no real order. There's no real game plan for prioritizing. You're kind of just doing as much as you can just to make the load less. And we might also see just like forgetfulness or trouble like seeing the game plan from beginning to end for a task. So there's like confusion along the way of how do I start? Where do I go? What are the main goals here? Am I on the right track? So that's kind of the behavioral, cognitive behavioral sense. And for our like fight or flight responses, they show up in, like for fight, you might feel like aggressive toward the person giving you the task because it's just overwhelming, and you're like, you want to fight that person for putting more on their plate, or maybe you want to fight the actual workload, and then you dive in head first and you just do everything that you can all at once, do as many things as possible, just trying to like grind it out. And that's like another way that shows up. So those are like instinctual responses. And we also have these adaptive stress responses, which is when like our body would recognize the stress and then kind of cope with it a little bit. So an example of this would be like shutting down completely to like save energy and preserve your focus for the task, or like not wanting to exert energy outside of the task that's coming up because it's just taking everything like from your mind. All of these responses can show up, like we can exhibit all of these just depending on our emotional state and our physical state and how our body is interpreting the stress. So some days you might be more willing to jump in and fight the response. Like you might have a fight response, and other days you might have a flight response where you just don't have the energy. You are avoiding, you're doom scrolling instead of jumping into your work. So all of these show up in our lives and in our patterns based on how our nervous system feels and our energy levels and so on. So I have a little bit of a quiz that we're going to do together. I'm just going to grab some water really quick. So I have 5 questions that I want to go through with you guys. You can record your responses on a notebook or on your own, or send them in the chat. It's up to you, but it's just for you to keep track of your responses. And then at the end, I'll kind of explain what your results mean and how we can navigate them. So question number 1, when you sit down to start a big task, what usually happens first? Number 1, I suddenly feel heavy or resistant. Number 2, I start doing other useful things instead. Number 3, I jump into action fast. Number 4, I start thinking through all of the options. C4, I am the same way. I definitely start to think about all the game plans and different approaches. So I'm gonna go to the next question. Just keep thinking about that response if you haven't gotten your answer yet. When pressure on deadlines increases, your energy usually drops, gets scattered, spikes, or gets stuck. Cool. I see some get scattered, spikes. All right, next question. Your to-do list is long and important. Your instinct is to avoid looking at it, tidy, organize, and admin your way around it. Try to do as much as possible. Rework the list until it feels right. Try to do as much as possible. Seems like a lot of those. A lot of tidying, organizing. I'm that one for sure. I love to set myself up and try to organize everything until I can feel ready. Okay, and the next one, when you finally do start, it's usually because the pressure becomes unavoidable. You've built momentum elsewhere. Adrenaline kicks in. You feel clearer or more certain. Yeah, a lot of ones. Pressure becomes unavoidable. Can't sit in the discomfort anymore. 2, adrenaline kicks in. You feel clear on your game plan. Cool. All right. And how do you usually feel at the end of a stressful workday? Drained and disappointed, busy but not satisfied, exhausted but accomplished, mentally tired but unsure. Exhausted but accomplished. Pretty common. Mentally tired but unsure. Okay, so here are the results. So if you found yourself putting mostly ones, your current response to stress would be avoidance. Mostly 2s is productive procrastination. Mostly 3s would be aggressive productivity. And mostly 4s would be decision paralysis. These are, so I guess, important important note, like I said earlier, is these fluctuate. So if your results right now, they can change, and these are not at all a depiction of your ability to achieve your goals, not a depiction of your value of, you know, being worthy of your goals. All of this is just a tool to understanding how our behaviors impact our ability to move forward. So don't put too much weight into this. Like, you're not an avoidant person, you're not lazy, you're not doing too much. It's just a tool for us to understand how we can assess how we feel, understand how our thoughts are going to impact our behaviors, and then move forward in a better way. So I think having this knowledge and knowing these different versions of how they show up is also nice, because like when I'm mostly a productive procrastinator. That is like my usual go-to, but a lot of times I find myself in decision paralysis. So it's just kind of good to know the difference and how they can show up, because you'll have a little bit more in your toolbox to be able to be like, okay, I'm feeling avoidant right now. And when I feel avoidant, I know that the best thing for me to do is to go take a walk, maybe make a little tiny to-do list, and then jump back into it later. So just want to say that this is in no way a reflection of your value or your ability to achieve your goals. So I want to go into each one just a little bit more in detail and give you kind of real life examples of how this looks and the science behind why we do this. So the avoidance looks like ignoring the task, ignoring the project, doom scrolling, spending way too much time on Instagram, Pinterest, whatever it is. Those are mine. The never ending tomorrow. So always saying like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it together tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day that this to-do list item is finally coming off my list. So just always avoiding that and pushing it back. And the reason we do this is because it protects our nervous system. It makes the threat farther away. So we are just protecting ourselves here. Mostly twos, productive procrastination. This shows up in like cleaning or organizing your files or, your space, because you feel like you'll be able to work better once your space is clean. So you can't start working until your space is clean. So you got to start there. Or you'll remember that to-do list item that you procrastinated 2 weeks ago that's still needing to be done. So you go back and do that because, that's productive. You did the task, but it's unrelated to what you're currently working on. Or you're doing smaller tasks that aren't as impactful to the big goal. They're more appealing, maybe a little more fun, maybe a little more digestible, but they aren't really making progress toward your overall goal. Oh, the reason why we do this is because this little like dopamine hit that we get from achieving the little goal it seems like enough sometimes for our nervous system and our body. We're like, okay, I did a little thing. So it's like it's a habit that we keep doing because we get a little bit from it, but not enough. It's not enough efficiency for achieving our goals quickly and effectively. Aggressive productivity. So this is, doing everything all at once. This is diving in with no game plan. This is trying to get as much done as quickly as possible because it's overwhelming to have a to-do list in the first place, right? So this aggressive productivity does sometimes lead to burnout because you jump in, you put all of your energy right on the front end, and then you crash and have to take a little bit of a break, or you don't have the mental excitement or the mental clarity to move forward in a way that you maybe would have if you had a game plan and a little bit of milestones along the way to kind of break down your big project. So at the end of, burning out and having to take a longer break, and honestly, John talked about this in training. It's the same thing with our brains and how we approach our to-do list and our productivity. If we burn out and do too much on the front end, we have longer time to come back and be more productive. So it takes a longer time to make progress when you burn out so quickly. And the decision paralysis shows up in endless planning and preparing and not really starting, rewriting your goals or waiting for the perfect time. Honestly, the way that this shows up the most for me is like I always feel like I have to like educate myself more, or like I have to read more, or I have to study more, or whatever it is, in order to be like ready. But you're never going to be ready. There's never going to be a perfect time. It's all about just going in and starting and getting that momentum going, because once you start, that's when you start, you know, becoming proud of yourself and feeling that confidence of it's not that scary, you know. It kind of settles your nervous system once you jump in. And the reason our brains do this is because sometimes it feels, it's like it feels better to not do anything because you can't mess it up at that point. Like doing nothing is safer than making a mistake, if that makes sense. So these are some productivity tips that I kind of came up, I guess I found through my experience, and I want to relay them to you guys because they've really, really helped me with just, I guess, setting up my life to fit my brain and my nervous system, because acting in alignment with our nervous system is how we step into our purpose, and understanding how our behaviors show up is like the first step for changing them. And you know, recognizing how our patterns impact us is the first step for assigning patterns to changing them. So oh, I made a note here. We don't manifest our dreams by pushing through resistance that feels wrong. Our purpose feels aligned, it feels comfortable, and if we set ourselves up by listening to our nervous system, we can achieve those effectively and sustainably and with passion, and we're proud of ourselves. So for the VIPs, you'll get access to it's inspired by my favorite planner. It's essentially a roles identifying and goal setting worksheet. So essentially you'll dive into thinking about the important roles that you play in your life. So, you know, your career, your relationships, your family, your whatever is important to you. And you'll dive into those and you'll assign daily, weekly, monthly actions and, you know, 6-month goals for those specific roles that you play. So even on the days where you don't feel the most productive, you still have a plan to rely on or lean back on that is literally aligned with your purpose and the person that you want to be. So yes, it's great. This is the planner. It's the purpose planner. Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys just like a little bit. This is my one for next year. So I have I'm starting the setup phase, but it's a non-dated planner too, which I love, because having ADHD, like I probably will go a couple months not using this, and then I'll jump back in and remember that it's awesome, and then I will be a few months behind, so I can just kind of start with whatever month I remember to come back here. But my goal with this one is to be really consistent. But yeah, this is an awesome planner. It like I don't know what I was thinking before having a planner, trying to remember all of the social obligations, the work obligations, the to-do list tasks, the personal chores I had to do. Like all of that was just in my brain, and I don't know what I was thinking. So I got a planner and I started time blocking my days. So, and I get really specific with this. So like I will go in and I will time block my rest. I'll time block work focus blocks, so I can, you know, give myself like time where I have the most energy to focus on work. I block my gym time, my me time. I even block like creative, like fun, like playtime, because that's important for our nervous systems to feel at ease, and like they have a place to, you know, just settle and regulate. So I schedule those times. To literally spend time with myself, to play, create, whatever it is. But time blocking and using a planner really changed a lot of my life and just my confidence with feeling like I'm in control. Because I didn't feel like I was in control, and it felt like everything was just happening around me, and I was like trying to keep my head above water. So planner, putting it all on paper is crazy as a concept, but it's so helpful. Breaking a to-do list into bite-sized tasks. I'll use the example of planning the summit. When I was first told about this, my initial response was like, wow, are we gonna do it? Am I gonna be able to do that? And then I realized that yes, of course. I have an amazing team, one, and two, it's all about just breaking down the huge project of planning an online summit into bite-sized pieces. So I started with picking a date, scheduling people to come join us to have conversations with us, figuring out what topics we wanted to cover. And breaking it down like that gave me the confidence. One, when I was checking off all of the to-do list items, I was like, look at me already planning a summit. Look at me already achieving these things, And it helps you kind of visualize where you can maybe delegate some things, where you can maybe not give as much attention somewhere. Maybe you give yourself too many tasks, and at the end of it, you realize some of the things aren't really necessary, or they can be put to the side and planned for after all the essentials are done. So I guess zooming in on your giant to-do list and making it into little digestible chunks helped so much with visualizing beginning to end what was expected of me and prioritizing it so that I put my energy on the things that mattered the most, and also figuring out how I could maybe delegate some tasks so that I was being the most effective with planning. The team was able to help me, because that's another thing I realized. I didn't mention this, but like being willing to ask for help and leaning on the people around you is also so helpful with just feeling like you can tackle your goals, because a lot of our goals like require other people to get us there, like coaching or friends that believe in us. So yeah, just lean on the people around you that believe in you as well. Switch your perspective on stress. So I started viewing stress as an opportunity. Like, stress is happening because this is important to me. I feel nervous because this is, special to me. I want to do good in this. I want to achieve a lot. So I started viewing stress as an opportunity to grow and as a challenge for me, because when we're challenged, that's where we, overcome and step into a new identity. So I started viewing stress as like okay, come on, bring it, So instead of letting it crumble me, it was more like okay, now we have work to do, and it's time to lock in and see if you can apply the things that you've been teaching yourself. So switching your perspective from flight to, just being ready for a challenge, and understanding that stress is going to happen, but you're in control, and that there's ways to plan so that the stress isn't what is driving you. And lastly, leaning on others who have it together. Go to those who have done what you are looking to do. Go to those who have done the walk that you're looking to do. I think that asking a mentor, asking a friend or a coworker, or someone who you've seen who has their life together the way that you want, or who has these tools, or someone that you just think is super productive and high achieving, ask them what do they do? What are they doing with their days that is different than you are? Where are they spending their time? What tools, what planners do they use? What mentors have they had? What coaching have they had? Just kind of go to the people who are living the life that you want to live and ask them about it. I think that was something that changed a lot for me. I started leaning on my mentors and kind of just being okay with needing help, and just leaning on other people who have the structures in place that I'm admiring and wanting someday. So here are some of my mindset shifts, and these were these are like personal moments that happened for me that I think were pivotal in my ability to set myself up to be more productive. This is first quote is something that I saw on Instagram, and I was just like, how dare they say that? But then I was like, wait, that's so, like, I relate to that so much. It's losers change their goals because they are too lazy to change themselves. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, that was meant for me, and I need to do something about this. Although we are far from lazy, we do make a choice to settle for where we're at, or we make a choice to step into becoming better. And I feel like change, like I know for me, if I have a goal and I change the goalpost a little bit to make it more achievable, I'm going to be upset with myself that I didn't show up the way that I initially set myself out to. So instead of changing the goalpost, instead of changing what you're achieving, change your systems, change where you're spending your energy, change your mindset, change your habits. And yeah, like you're worthy of your goals. So there's no need to change them. It's just about adjusting so that you can start becoming the version of yourself who is going to be ready to take on those goals. Be super specific when setting your goals, elaborate on the details, like get super specific, like who is a part of these goals with you? Where are you standing when the goal, happens? Who's cheering you on when you achieve this goal? How long is it going to take? Where are you going to be, spending time achieving this goal? Do you need teammates? Like, just get really, really specific on what it is that you want to achieve and visualize it. Like before I knew that I would even step on stage as a bodybuilder, I love Janet Leung. She's one of my favorite bikini athletes, and I just I always imagined her and like how she just was so graceful and powerful and just like confident and just embodied this like really strong, like badass woman. And I was like, that is who I want to be. But I knew that I was like so far from that when I wanted to do this. But I would do my cardio and I would just envision like Janet. I was like, I need that Janet energy. So I would just like envision myself walking on stage with her confidence. I would envision like the judges looking at me and feeling that like, gracefulness coming from me. Just all of the details are so, so, so important. And the way that you think about your goals and the way that you talk about your goals to other people, like just be delusionally like big, like when you talk about your goals, like don't downplay them. Like just be as big and confident as you want to be with your goals, because the more specific you are, the easier it is to see your game plan. Rest is productive too. Like, wow, I don't know how long this didn't click for me for a very long time. And when it did, I saw so many changes in my physique. I saw so many changes in my mental clarity. Like I felt like my executive function was so like night and day. Like my ADHD was like so much better when I was resting and prioritizing recovery and prioritizing like things that just filled me back up. Because when you're in this state of just grinding and achieving and just being so hard on yourself, you're just going to get kind of just beat down, I guess, at the end of it. So just giving yourself that time to recover and rest and just refill your cup is so important. Like I said before, like I literally make time to schedule it. I plan for it and I don't make exceptions for it. Like rest is the key to having a state where you can achieve your greatest self and also just feel your best. So, and we learned that from, Samara with her gut health, like just rest just is everything is tied to how your nervous system and your body is feeling. So resting and recovering and just prioritizing that is so, so, so important. And practicing gratitude, like when you become grateful for everything that you already have, you start to attract a lot more of the greatness. I was very negative and pessimistic on the beginning of my journey. Um, I I just would be like, oh, I wish that I was as disciplined as X, Y, and Z. I wish that I could, look the way that they do. And I just felt like all of that negative energy going toward envy and going toward wanting to be more was just being wasted because I already was making progress. I had such amazing people around me that were cheering me on and believing in me and seeing the progress that I was making. And I realized that like I already have it made. Like it's there, like, it's to be grateful for what you have will bring you more to be grateful for, I guess is the moral here. But just be grateful for your body and everything that it does, and be grateful for, the fact that you have a to-do list to accomplish and you have people relying on you to do things and you have work to do that is bigger than yourself. Like all of those things are something to be grateful for, and that you woke up and you have a to-do list to do, like all of those things are just things to be grateful for. And when you really realize how grateful and blessed we are, it kind of puts things into perspective. Like, okay, this to-do list is doable. I've done hard things before. And just practicing gratitude. Being a work in progress is the best thing that you can be. I heard this. I love EDM music. I was at a show in Tampa, and one of my favorite artists came on the mic and said this. And at the point in my life that he said this, I was so lost. Like I knew that I had so much work to do in terms of like learning to love myself and learning to just be okay with not being where I wanted to be. And when I heard that being a work in progress is the best thing that you can be, like that was just so comforting. And it made me realize that no matter where you are in your journey, like you are worthy and capable and valuable. You don't have to reach an end goal in order to be worth something. Just as long as you're achieving to do better, and as long as you're striving to be more, like that's enough. That's the best thing that you can be. So just always trying to show up for yourself and work toward a better version of yourself. And that's it. Like that's all that you can expect of yourself. And now we've reached our Q&A session. So if there was anything in the chat that I missed, I'm going to go back here and see if I missed anything in the chat. No. Do you guys have, oh, there we go. Chat loaded, sorry. Decision paralysis, yeah, I struggle with that a lot. Derail some things. The endless planning part, yeah, endless planning part is my downfall. Are you showing something? Oh boy. Oh, that was in the beginning when my camera wasn't working. Sometimes I do not plan enough at all, and I jump into things with no plan. Planning stresses me out because I rarely anything goes to plan. Yeah, honestly, I feel that. That's valid. I feel like being okay with, things, I guess like learning to be okay with rolling with the punches and doing the best that you can. Like if you show up with a plan and it goes a little bit off, like it's okay. Like I feel like I used to beat myself up at the end of the day if I had a to-do list with some check boxes that weren't crossed off. And like I feel like that's just reality. Our sometimes life happens, and sometimes our priorities have to pivot. And I think it's okay as long as we're at the end of the day, like knowing that we did everything we could to achieve, and that we did everything we could to, do our best in that moment. Like our best looks different every day. And if you have 80% in the tank and, you left some on the table, it's okay. You have the next day to show up and give it, 85 if that's what you have in your tank. I have an all or nothing approach to planning. When it goes wrong, I crash out hard and I struggle with asking for help. So it's a mental hamster wheel. And I sit in my own existential crisis when this planning and execution part comes to my own goals sometimes. Yeah, I feel that. I feel like having a plan is helpful and a good guide, but attaching your value and attaching your worth to how much of the plan was executed perfectly is where we kind of get into that like beating ourselves up cycle. So again, just remembering it's okay if like everything doesn't get done, as long as you know that you gave it all that you had that day. And yeah, and as long as you communicate to, like if there's other people that involved, like as long as you're communicating, like the plan is changing, like I feel like things are expected, like risks are gonna arise, and when planning projects and things, like we're gonna have to pivot, and that's just the reality of the situation. But accepting that, like viewing that stress and that need to pivot as something that you can overcome with your team or learn from, like that's, viewing that stress as an opportunity. Do you use KPIs? Yeah, so KPIs is key performance indicators. So those are kind of like little milestone tasks in your overall task to check progress and kind of see how things are going. I haven't used KPIs in my own personal planning, but I was an executive assistant for 3 years before this job. And I would build KPIs for our teams. So I would help them build like quarterly goals. And then I would use the KPIs to like see if they're on track. So like if their goal was, getting a 5-star customer service rating on our customer service emails, I would have the KPIs be, responding to reviews on time. It's another one, like exchanging returns quickly within 1 day or whatever. So I think it would be to implement them, you would look at your overall goal and then maybe find like 3 to 5 smaller tasks that make up that bigger goal, and give deadlines for those. So having a deadline for your task is so important. I don't even know how I didn't mention that, but like putting a deadline on your task makes it real. It sets it in stone for you. And I think that would kind of help set the tone for your sorry, I thought my recording just ended. That would kind of set the tone for your game plan. Like, okay, this is KPI number 1. We have to achieve X, Y, and Z in order to get to our overall goal. So I hope that answered your question, Lynn. Let me know if it didn't. I can execute, but I rarely plan anything. I feel like getting into a good state of being is essential. Good energy, I found, trumps the best laid plans. Yeah, I agree. I think that always being in a state of flow and just trusting your body and listening to how our stress shows up and figuring out how we can like adjust our energies to see the challenge as exciting and see it as something that we can overcome and solve, and use those critical thinking skills to tackle, versus it being like an overwhelming like plan that has to be executed perfectly. Melissa said that she resonates with that. If she doesn't take the time to regulate and get into a good state first, planning and executing feels so much harder. Once I'm regulated, knowing what to do feels a lot more obvious and enjoyable. Yeah, and I think too, like when you regulate yourself, you have a little bit you give yourself more like space to be creative, and you give yourself more space to do more than just the bare minimum, and it makes that exciting. And I definitely agree with that. I think that it does become more enjoyable when your game plan and your yeah, like when your game plan is aligned and it's right there for you and you're excited about it because you took the time to put yourself in a place where you're ready to achieve and you're ready to execute. I struggle prioritizing myself and my goals when there are people at work and home that depend on me. Yeah, I relate to that. I definitely understand. And what I would say is that you can't show up for other people and you can't show up for the world if you are running on an empty tank, and if you are, you know, beating yourself up and not achieving and not feeling confident. You're missing that opportunity to show up fully for the people around you. So I definitely feel you, and I urge you to try prioritizing, you know, maybe like this week, like just pick one goal that you want to focus on this week, and just try to prioritize yourself, like for one goal this week. I think that would be a fun challenge for you, and I do think that it's important to pour back into ourselves so that we can show up better in the world for the people who need us, and we can show up better for ourselves in the future. Are there any more questions from you guys? Oh, I just got one from Ashley. I tend to put off work, buying food, and procrastinating, which leads to me doom scrolling. I also put off buying food. That is so real. Yeah, so I would say with this, like, similar to how I time block my days, I plan my weeks in the beginning of the week too. So this is how I plan my workouts. Like, if I know that I have leg day on Wednesday, and on Wednesday I don't want to do leg day, like, we're doing it anyway. You know what I mean? And same thing with the grocery store. Like, if I know I need food for my meal plan, I'm going to the grocery store because I'm going to need food to think. I need food to show up for work. I need food to show up for my lifts. So that's like a priority that I'm going to schedule on the front end of my week. So I know that Tuesday I'm going to the grocery store, and Wednesday for legs, I'll have my breakfast so that I have energy. You know what I mean? So maybe try that. Like, try planning your week out and locking days in for those required tasks that you have to do, like buying food and working. Try to, you know, set time blocks for those so that you have a plan. And when you're feeling like, weirdly enough, I've always been consistent with tracking my macros and workouts, just work buying stuff that I put off until it's too late. Yeah, well, fueling your body is super, super important. You know this for your workouts. So prioritize, like, lock in a day for you to go to the grocery store whenever you need it next time, and show up for that date with yourself. That's important. So that's my recommendation there. Try to set in your important weekly to-dos on the front end, and when that day comes, like, that's a date you made with yourself. We're going. All right, I have about 7 more minutes. If there are any more questions, like, please send into the chat. I'm happy to answer them. I'm gonna pass the mic over to, where's my presentation? Pass the mic over to John, so he can talk about our special offer from the squad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maya. Thank you for taking the time to put this together. Maya does a lot of the back end work for Vegan Squad, and so she's definitely spent a lot of time figuring out how to be organized and how to even now share this information with us. So I will be dropping in the chat the VIP access links for anybody that wants to get those. You'll get access to every single recording and all of the resources and guides from all of our speakers for this entire weekend. Additionally, we had a couple people hop in that I have not seen you guys fill this out yet. 2026 is coming up. I guess my camera turned off. 2026 is coming up. And if you guys want added accountability, support, guidance, basically someone there to help you figure out the best way to reach your goals, come click this link, and we're going to be helping out every single person that we can. We're trying to give back to the community that has helped us grow this year, and we really want to support you on your goals, get to learn you better. So if anybody's interested, I know some of the people here have already clicked and filled this out, but I know that some of you haven't. Click there. We'd love to get in touch with you.